I knew something was wrong the moment I turned the corner and saw brake lights stretching down the road like a line of trapped fireflies. My street was usually empty, quiet, peaceful, predictable. But that morning, it looked like the entrance to a concert venue. Cars idled, people shouted, and right in the middle of the road, blocking traffic with the authority of someone who thought she owned the world, stood Karen. Not just any Karen, the Karen who had spent months complaining about everything, from loud birds to suspicious clouds, but this time, she'd outdone herself. She had built an actual checkpoint. I'm talking about a pop-up canopy labeled HOA security control in bright red letters, 2 orange cones she clearly stole from somewhere, and a folding table stacked with clipboards, binders, and, yes, a cash box. She wore aviator sunglasses, a fluorescent vest, and the aggressive confidence of someone who had watched one too many police dramas. Drivers rolled down windows, confused. Karen barked orders like a drill sergeant who failed training. Stop! Identification! HOA access fee is $20. $20? For driving on a public road? I watched in disbelief as she made people sign some ridiculous traffic compliance form she obviously typed on word art. She was collecting cash like a toll booth employee, except this toll booth existed only in her imagination. An older man leaned out his window. I don't even live here, he protested. Karen slammed her palms on his hood. Then you definitely need to pay the out-of-area crossing surcharge. Surcharge. She really said surcharge. I pulled out my phone to record, because no one, and I mean no one, was going to believe this otherwise. But before I could even hit record, a gray pickup truck pulled up to the front of the line. The driver lowered his window slowly, calmly, with the kind of controlled patience you only see in people who deal with chaos. Professionally. He looked ordinary, relaxed, almost amused. Karen strutted toward him with her clipboard. Identification, and the $20 HOA road usage fee. The man raised an eyebrow. Road usage fee? He repeated. That's right, Karen snapped. I am authorized by the community to regulate traffic. Pay the fee or turn around. The man leaned forward slightly, letting sunlight hit the small badge, clipped near his belt, subtle enough to miss. Unless you were paying attention, I'm off duty today, he said softly. But I'm still a police officer. Mind explaining why you're charging people on a public street? Karen's face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. And that was when the real story began. Karen froze completely, her clipboard hanging awkwardly in the air as the off-duty officer stepped out of his truck with calm, controlled movements. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply studied her with the steady, quiet authority of someone who had seen every kind of excuse imaginable. Drivers behind him leaned out of their windows, phones raised, eager to capture whatever was about to unfold. Even the breeze seemed to pause. Karen attempted a shaky smile. Sir, this is merely a routine HOA checkpoint, she announced. We're conducting neighborhood safety reviews. Nothing official, just community oversight. The officer glanced slowly at the cones, the canopy, the laminated sign, and then at the metal cash box stuffed with loose bills. How much money have you collected today? He asked. Karen straightened defensively. A modest amount. Voluntary support contributions. A woman immediately shouted from her car. Voluntary? You said if I didn't pay, I'd be banned from using the road. Another driver chimed in. She forced me to sign a consent form. Karen spun back toward them, furious. Those were guidelines, completely optional. The officer raised a calm hand. Ma'am, this is a public road. You cannot legally collect money from drivers. And you especially cannot pretend to be an enforcement authority. Karen's jaw locked. I am an authority. I'm the acting neighborhood compliance liaison. She lifted her chin proudly. Self-appointed, but recognized by several residents. The officer shook his head. That's not a legal position. It should be, she muttered bitterly. Someone has to maintain order. He stepped closer. Ma'am, what you're doing qualifies as fraud and obstruction. I need you to close this checkpoint and return the money. Karen's face twisted. No, you don't understand. People ignore rules. Outsiders treat this neighborhood like a shortcut. Someone has to take control, and clearly no one else is willing to do it. The officer remained unshaken. Being frustrated doesn't give you permission to create your own laws. Karen grabbed the cash box protectively. This is for community improvements. A man shouted, Yeah, improvements to her backyard. Laughter rippled through the cars. Karen snapped, That patio set was essential. The officer rested his hand on his radio. Ma'am, hand over the money. Karen's eyes widened with a wild, stubborn spark. No, she whispered. I earned this. Then without warning, she spun around and bolted, clutching the cash box like stolen treasure. She darted under the canopy and sprinted down the street with surprising speed. Drivers gasped. The officer lunged after her. And that was the precise moment everything descended into chaos. Karen sprinted down the road with the desperation of someone who truly believed she could outrun consequences. The cash box bounced wildly in her arms, bills fluttering out behind her like guilty confetti. The off-duty cop followed close behind, not running aggressively, just maintaining a steady, controlled pursuit, the kind that told everyone he already knew she wasn't getting far. Drivers stepped out of their cars to watch. Some recorded. Others shouted advice like she was participating in the world's most disorganized marathon. "Drop the money, lady! Turn yourself in before it gets worse! You forgot your fake badge!" Karen ignored all of them. She cut through a patch of grass, nearly slipped, but somehow kept going. She muttered to herself like a winded villain. "They don't understand. Someone has to take charge. I was helping the community." The officer didn't raise his voice. "Ma'am, stop running. You're adding charges," Karen yelled back without turning around. "You can't charge me! I'm not even officially part of the HOA." That statement alone made 3 people laugh out loud. When she reached the end of the street, she abruptly veered into a backyard, my backyard. I had been watching from my porch, stunned, sipping my coffee like it was the most entertaining morning show I'd ever seen. Before I could react, Karen barreled right past me. She headed straight for my shed. "Karen, what are you doing?" I shouted. "It's a safe haven," she cried, throwing herself inside and slamming the door shut. Safe haven? My shed? The place where I stored gardening tools and a broken lawnmower? The officer approached me, breath steady. "Sir, may I?" I gestured politely. "Be my guest." "I'm not protecting her." He gave the shed door a firm knock. "Ma'am, come out. This is your last warning." Inside, Karen rustled around, probably trying to barricade the door with a rake. "I'm not coming out!" "I haven't done anything wrong." I was making the neighborhood safer. The officer remained patient. "You impersonated authority, illegally collected money, blocked public access, and fled when confronted." Karen's voice cracked. "People disrespect me. They ignore my concerns. I thought if I showed leadership, they'd listen." That silence that followed wasn't mockery this time. It was uncomfortable, heavy, because the truth finally slipped out. Karen wasn't trying to scam for fun. She was trying to feel important. The officer exhaled slowly. "Ma'am, open the door. You're not helping yourself by hiding." I stepped forward. "Karen, just come out. Enough is enough." For a moment, everything was still. Then quietly, the shed door creaked open. Karen stepped out of the shed slowly, clutching the cash box against her chest like a lifeline. Her fluorescent vest was crooked, her sunglasses hung by one arm, and her expression had shifted from arrogant certainty to exhausted resignation. The off-duty officer approached her calmly. No anger in his voice, only firm authority. "Ma'am, please hand over the box," he said. Karen hesitated, not because she wanted to keep the money. At this point, even she knew the fantasy was over, but because giving it up meant admitting the entire operation had collapsed. Her shoulders sagged as she finally extended it toward him. The officer took it gently and opened it, revealing the pile of rumpled bills and a few loose coins. "I'll document the amount and return it to the drivers," he said loudly. Enough for everyone around to hear. The small crowd nodded in approval. Karen swallowed hard. Am I going to jail?" "That depends on how cooperative you are from here on," he replied honestly. "But you need to understand something. You can't create authority where you don't have any. You frightened people. You blocked a public road. You collected money under false pretenses." Karen looked down at her shoes. "I just wanted things to be orderly. People speed. They argue. They ignore rules. I thought if someone took charge, they'd respect it." A woman from earlier stepped forward. "Karen, enforcing safety is fine. But charging people and pretending to be an officer? That's dangerous." Karen's eyes glistened. For once, she didn't snap back. The officer sighed. "I'm going to call the local department. They'll decide how to proceed. You'll likely get citations and have to answer for the money you collected." Karen nodded weakly. "I understand." While he made the call, the rest of us gathered around. Some drivers retrieved their refunds. Others shook their heads, still baffled by the situation. A few even softened, realizing Karen wasn't malicious, just catastrophically misguided. I walked over to where she sat on the curb, elbows on knees, staring at the ground. "Karen," I said quietly, "you can't keep doing things like this." She let out a humorless laugh. "I know, it's just, when no one listens, I try harder. Then I push too far." "You pushed a galaxy too far this time," I replied, but without cruelty. She actually smiled at that, a small, tired smile. When the patrol car arrived, she didn't resist. She stood, straightened her vest, and walked over with a calmness that surprised everyone. She wasn't handcuffed, just escorted, questioned, and taken for formal processing. As the car drove away, the road finally cleared. Life returned to normal, and the fake checkpoint? Gone forever. If you enjoyed this crazy HOA showdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another wild story. Drop a comment below and tell us, what would you do if Karen set up a fake checkpoint on your street? And don't forget to like the video if you love watching epic neighborhood dramas.